Hello my friends, welcome back to another video. My name is Ian with Out of This World Reader, and today's video is going to be the Contradictions book tag. So I've been wanting to do this book tag for quite some time now. A lot of people did it when it first came out, and that's when I really wanted to do it. But then when I tried filming that video, I found out that I didn't have a lot of books that kind of fit into the prompts. So I was like, maybe I'll just do it next year, whenever I've read quite a few more books. And now that I've read quite a few more books, I think it's time to finally give it a try. But this is a tag kind of centered around like, I like this genre, but I didn't like this book, and I didn't like this genre, but I like this book. So I think without further ado, let's hop in with the first question. So the first prompt is, I like this genre, but I didn't like this book. And the first prompt is, I like this genre, but I didn't like this book. And I think if you know me, you know that I love fantasy and sci-fi. But for this one, I had to choose a fantasy book that I read last year, and I did a whole kind of reading vlog adventure for it, and it was Sweet and Bitter Magic, and it just had like all the right ingredients in it, but it just didn't turn out well for me. And then there was just like this whole thing with like a 50-page like epilogue, and it just didn't wrap up very well, and just like the magic involved, I was really hoping for more magic. There was also said to be kind of like a romance, but I didn't find that the romance kind of didn't happen until the very end in that very long epilogue, and still kind of wasn't touched on as much as I was kind of expecting in it. So thankfully, like, I haven't read that many books that I just didn't like in the genre, but I have a feeling that once I get to more books within the genre here in the future, that I will have to experience more books that I just didn't like. But that was the only one that I could think of. And then the next one is, I rarely read this genre, but I like these two books. And this is just perfect timing because I just recently read two romance books, and which is kind of unheard of for me. Like, I'll kind of check them out sometimes in fantasy, but I thought for Valentine's Day, why not just pick up two of the most kind of hyped fantasy books going around. I think one came out last year and the other one came out recently, and that was Beach Read and The Love Hypothesis. And I did a whole kind of reading vlog for this, so if you definitely want to learn more of my thoughts on both of them, check out that video. But overall, like, both of them, like, they're both unique in their own way, and this one's kind of like a Rilo inspiration, and then Beach Read is kind of like rivals to lovers and their writers. So I just really was on board with everything, the science in this one, and then the writing and setting in this one. Like, they were both like great. And for not being kind of like a romance reader, like, I just enjoyed these a ton. And then this next one is really tough because I was really expecting a lot from this book, and it is, I love this trope, but I didn't like this book. And I love magical schools, but I just love anything, whether it's like a training academy or magical school. Like, I love that. And with this one, it's really complicated. Like, I have the worst relationship with this series. It's A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. Like, I love the school romance in here, like just the dark setting of it, and it almost felt like a school for Slytherin, even though I'm a Ravenclaw. But just like the danger involved in just like mouths and kind of the just competitiveness between the students, I just really enjoyed that. But the inner dialogue with Elle and just her being a negative Nancy all the time really kind of turned me off. And I continued the series, and since I'm so stubborn, I will be finishing the third book when it comes out. And I'm a bit worried because the way that the second book ended, I just, without spoiling it, like, I'm a bit worried because the only thing going for this was the school, and that's all I'll say. And then we have the opposite, where I don't love this trope, but I love this book, and it is the love triangle. I feel like I haven't read very many books where I've enjoyed the love triangle, but in this one, it's kind of just a little bit in the background, and it doesn't kind of play a role until later on in the story. But that's Legend Board by Tracy Dion, and this came out, I believe, 2 years ago. And the second book, Bloodmark, is here to come pretty soon. But I feel like the love triangle will kind of play a bigger role in the second book. And I'm just very excited to just see where it will go. I just loved kind of like the different take on UNC and kind of the Knights of the Round Table and just the magic involved. Like, it has like 2 magic systems. And I just loved how they were incorporated, but also kind of just like the love triangle in here. Like, I felt like it wasn't complicated or anything like else kind of going in the background, and that's why I just really enjoyed it. And it just was kind of well done because it kind of, like, I don't know how to explain it, I guess, but it just like like with most of the love triangles I experience, like I don't like what's going on with it. But of this one, I felt like it just fit perfectly into the story, I guess, if that makes sense at all. But I would definitely recommend you check this out before that second book comes out. And now it's time to talk about some authors, and it is a author that I've really enjoyed, but I didn't like this book, and this is going to be Andy Weir. Like, all the books I picked up by him, I've absolutely loved, but Randomize, his little short story that he put for the Forward collection, was absolutely terrible. Honestly, that was the worst 20 or 30 pages I've ever read in my life. And I've read a lot of history books. Like, I felt like it was honestly pretty boring and there wasn't a lot going on with it. And I was really disappointed because I loved The Martian. And then Artemis, I did enjoy Artemis. Like, I feel like a lot of people didn't like that, but I did. And then I read this. It was terrible. So I always say that he was kind of working on Project Hail Mary while writing this, and he was just like, I don't care about this. I'm just gonna pour out my heart and soul into Project Hail Mary. So that's what I always tell myself. That was terrible. And then on the opposite side of the spectrum, an author that I didn't really kind of like, but I just enjoyed this book. And it's kind of another complicated relationship. And that's Riley Sager. Like, I feel like the majority of the books I've read by him are kind of hit and miss. Like, I liked Home Before Dark and Lock Every Door, but then everything else I read by him, I just haven't enjoyed. And I hear that he's coming out with another book here pretty soon. So I don't know. The last one that I picked up by him, Survive the Night, was, I couldn't even get through it. I had to DNF it. So if I don't see any good reviews about this new release, I will not pick it up. And the last kind of two little prompts are covers, and the first one is going to be, I like this cover, but I didn't like this book, and that's going to be One by One by Ruth Ware. Like, I love the winter atmosphere, and I thought the cover portrayed that perfectly. But once I got into the book and got going, reading through it, it's terrible. Honestly, I hate saying that word because just an author pouring out their heart and soul into a book and just it not being for me. Like, I hate saying that word, but it was just honestly not good for me, in my opinion, and I didn't like where it was going. I thought it was very predictable, and just the elements of kind of the business and just the analytics and all that kind of stuff involved, I just didn't like that it was included. And then we have a cover that I didn't like, but I enjoyed the book, and it's not that I didn't hate this cover, but just like the UK versions are always better, and that is my editions of Mistborn. Like, these are still like okay, but if you've seen the UK covers for any of his books, I just think they are a lot better looking. And I always try and get the UK covers, but when I found the box edition, got these instead, and I'm glad that I read them because they are one of my favorite series of all time that I've checked in adult fantasy. But let's be honest, those UK covers were a ton better. And the last thing is to tag some people, so I'll go ahead and tag Jeremy Fee, Ugo, the Sassy Librarian Fox, and then Reading with Lauren. So I hope they all give this a try and have some fun with it as well. But that is going to be all for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed kind of this little tag video. What are some of the books that you would fill into these prompts? Leave them down below. If you did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing so you never miss out on another adventure. But it is time for Ellie to come on here and first wish you all to have a splendid day. But she also says that adventure is out there. So I'll catch you next time. Bye.